Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Very nice to have you join us for our regular 6:30 to 7:30 online meeting and greeting. I realized that there's a really nice topic that we could give our 6:30 to 7:30, calling it the spiritual vaccine. Isn't that a good one? That came up this afternoon. So just imagine that your 6:30 to 7:30 is your spiritual vaccine to take care of all cures. How are you? How did you spend the day today? I hope it was well worth it and used in a worthwhile way. I had a wonderful interview with Shinzo from Truth Be Told radio show in South Africa, which now has recently locked down their country as well. And we spoke about what was happening in the US and also what's taking place in South Africa. And I just enjoyed our time together on air. And so hopefully we'll get to collaborate and really reach out far and wide to each other much more. I'm looking forward to connecting with so many friends and colleagues from around the world. Tomorrow we'll be having a wonderful session with our sister Aruna from Kuwait, and on Saturday, Yogesh from Turkey, on Sunday, India. And just letting you know what's happening behind the scenes when maybe you don't see me at 6:30 to 7:30. So lots of various collaborations in the earlier parts of the day, just looking at how we can really offer the strength, the power, the protection, the energy that's needed to charter through this time. Earlier on, when we first started a few weeks ago, it was clear to us that our being introverted and being in exile is really our time for our personal sense of compassion. We're really being called to be more compassionate to ourselves, to each other. And sometimes, how do you know that you're not being very compassionate? You check the way you treat others, that's one. You check the way your environment looks, that's two. You check the food that you ingest into your system. But more than anything else, check your thoughts. Your thoughts will reveal to you what level of compassion is actually sitting there. So what I'm going to maybe just do today is take us through some spiritual correlation between the guidelines that we've been given by the CDC and our experts around the world. I have been told now that America is now number one in most cases where I think the infections are concerned, Santosh, right? Are we ranking number one with the highest infection rate? All right. And so what does that say to the developing country? Are we too free? Do we feel that we're not willing to listen to things that will alter and change our lives? It's always been very interesting to communicate and to sometimes collaborate and mix with different ideas when you feel, in a way, it takes away your personal freedom. The thing is, with this particular situation and this particular time that we're in, I would say that let's imagine that it's not taking away our freedom, but it's giving us an opportunity to amplify the power to be free from inside. Because we will pay more attention to the way we think, to the way we feel, and to the way that we've been treating others. So what I've been saying for a while now, I think this is really a blessing in disguise. And there is a lot of worry, and it's valid, but there's nothing that we can do about worrying. So we will need to have our minds very clear to find out, well, what is the solution right now? What is the solution? Everyone's thinking about rent, mortgage, utilities, health, food, each other, natural emotions, natural feelings for each other. And yet we, in a way, we have no control over some of those things. We do have control over the way I want to think my way through this next few weeks or next few months. Sometimes common sense will say, looking at the track record of China and Singapore and these other places that took measures way ahead of time, the virus still exists, but it's much less. People will still have to live with particular new ways of keeping themselves clean. Think about it. No more running and fighting over toilet paper if you choose to take a bath instead of using up the toilet paper. Just a simple thing. I think I've mentioned earlier, in a day I'll take 2 to 3 baths a day anyway, which has been my natural routine. And so these are, I think, lots of blessings in disguise that are coming towards us, where we are learning about becoming more pure and more clean as people and as a collective. Have you ever sat next to somebody who didn't take a shower and they're really, really smelly from the night before, and you kind of feel like you go like this and you want to separate yourself from the person because you're like, oh my God, I can't handle the scent, right? So similarly, if we have like a lot of internal issues that we haven't sorted out, and there is that, like, I haven't taken a bath for the soul. I haven't cleaned the soul. So what is the fragrance that's coming through me as a result of that? And have you ever smelt a baby? You just want to keep smelling them. You smell the purity, you smell the softness, you smell the cleanliness, you smell the sweetness of a baby. So I give you these two concepts to look at. The smell of a baby. It's almost as if the coronavirus is making us become so clean that we'll get back to like our baby scent, right? Naturally pure and beautiful and wonderful. Or the scent in which basically says, I really don't care for myself and I don't care what energy I spread to other people. One of the difficulties in the US and maybe in other places as well is that folks aren't aware that the way they leave the place, sneezing, coughing, touching particular areas of their body where the droplets or the molecules or the bacteria can spread, that if they leave the door handle, the cupboards and things with, all of whatever bacteria they're spreading, that somebody else comes and picks it up, somebody who might just have been innocent. I don't know how often we're washing our hands every day. Now, I used to wash my hands a lot, period, before. And now it's like, I can't even count anymore. It's just too much. It's too much. I think my hands are getting so dry. I don't know what to do with them anymore, because we wash them so often. But for safety. And I do it not only because I love to keep myself clean and pure, but I do it because I want others to be safe and okay. And that's the culture we're moving into. The culture we're moving into is that whatever I do vibrates. Whatever I think carries a vibration. And we have to start to be more conscientious. And if this particular global shutdown doesn't remind you or trigger in you that we're all connected and interconnected, I really don't know what will. I really don't know. I've been speaking to so many of my friends around the world, and we talk about this is what we've always been sharing in our lectures and programs. We're interconnected. We are one world. We are a whole. Anything that I do impacts the whole universe and etc. And now we're witnessing the proof of that. Whatever I think, speak, do, contributes to the rest of the environment. It contributes to the way another person is going to feel somewhere in the world. Somewhere. If it's not to the people that I'm living with, like the droplets, when you cough or when you sneeze and it drops like 6 feet, or at least within 6 feet of wherever you coughed or sneezed, if it lands on a piece of material or wood or countertop or what have you, somebody comes and picks it up very innocently. They catch that virus. Just think about it. You think it's just a sneeze or a cough, but it's a death weapon for somebody else. And so let me start to understand and accept that the way I think has an impact not only on my body, in my environment, in my relationships, but also for my whole world. This is no longer the blame of a country, a man, a leader, a this or that. And please don't forward tweets with people who are just being nasty and ugly and cussing and saying something bad. And just, if you're going to forward a tweet or a message, let it be one that will uplift others. Yes, there's some that are funny, but how much do we need of that anyway? We just need to be aware. These are very serious times. My future is being shaped by the way I receive what this time is offering me and what I've done in the past. And I'm being given a second chance to get this right. There's a lot of positives so far. Internet virtual connections are happening globally. The waters are getting purer. The ozone layer is healing. People are talking to each other who never spoke to each other before. Our Daddy Janky left at this time. Why? The world was still. The world was still. And she had to leave at a time. I mean, if you were to strategize a departure, what an incredible way to do that. When the world was still, trying to reflect. Now everybody really needs to have God in the core of their hearts. I was so fascinated by a short video on Pope Francis and his address, all by himself with one cardinal, and nobody was in the square. Absolutely nobody. It was in Italy. I'd do anything to even know what he must be thinking now. Don't you see? It was always about you being the best human being. It doesn't mean fancy cars, lots of money in your bank account, how you dress, who you have on your arm. That's secondary. It was always about the way you made somebody feel. The value, the respect you offered them, the smile, the understanding, the appreciation because they're different. That even if they're different, your love wouldn't change. You would still respect. I don't think I'd do that, but respect. That you could just, we were always meant to be a better civilization. Prophets and sages for thousands of years have been on this planet, giving teachings, guidance, information, showing examples. And their doors are locked today, but not their hearts. But to what extent are you deepening your relationship with the Source right now, with God? And really making the necessary changes that you need to make inside. We are walking vibrational tools. How you think has an impact on how others receive vibrations in the atmosphere. Came across a lovely video that I want to share with all of you. I think it speaks volumes. Here it goes.
When I was a child, I remembered a song, "Stop the world, I want to get down." Do you know what's more interesting? The world stopped, but we did not have anywhere to step down to. We have come to a moment when we need to look inside ourselves and to look after our own emotional state. Do you know what's more dangerous than a pandemic of coronavirus? It's a pandemic of disconnected people, full of depression, anxiety, people who can't sleep, people who are only able to speak of the cause, the crisis, the blame, and giving up on the future. Only speaking about going to the supermarket and the shelves were empty, and putting even more negative energy into things that have already happened. So if you don't have anything positive to say, simply stay quiet and listen. And when you listen, your plea is heard, your vibration is lifted, and when your vibration is lifted, your immune system is strengthened. When we moan about things we don't want, we cry out and just double it. Nobody's a victim, nobody's to blame. We are talking about a problem that is silent and invisible, that was able to stop the world, and nobody could step down. So we've come to a moment when we need to look after our own emotional state of mind and look deeply inside ourselves and ask, how can I ignite the positive light in others today? How can I create a positive moment? Whether speaking a positive phrase, putting on some inspirational music, playing an instrument, speaking to somebody in your neighborhood block, putting out cards to see if anybody needs help. Anything, but always moving towards creating something good. It's not up to you to spread more negativity. It's not up to you to be adding more to the mayhem, but to help others to maintain a positive outlook, to help others to ignite their own inner light so that it does not go out as they face their daily challenges. My name is Sharon Bannister, biodynamic craniosacral practitioner and mentor. I wanted to translate and pass on this beautiful message to join the collective efforts to support you all. I hope it's been of help. Please pass it on. We all need to work together and to get the majority of people to be optimistic at the moment and create people that are aware, pray, meditate and vibrate with positivity, believing that everything will be all right and in time this too will pass.
Wasn't that an incredible video? I don't know how I came about it. I think someone from the UK sent it to me. And as I kept watching it over and over again, I could see just how we're vibrating these vibrations. Today we sorted things again around the house, and each time we kept saying, do you feel the energy? Do you feel how the vibration is lifting? And that's what we need to do in our homes. I would recommend have only one place in your home that it's like your messy corner. But every other place in the house, raise the energy. Raise the energy. Bring the sacred. Bring heaven. Bring peace. Bring power into your four walls of your homes. So listen, we'll put together a little PowerPoint to look at the spiritual correlation between corona and the whole aspect of the coronavirus and compassion. I keep sometimes getting confused. The Hindi word is karuna. So sometimes I accidentally say karuna, but I mean compassion. There must be a reason why we're being called to be more compassionate. And I have to commend again world leaders, what they must be going through to try to navigate and take care of their citizens. But also, what do citizens need to do to take care of themselves? So from corona to compassion. Let's take a look at some of the things that we hear all the time on the news or we hear from each other. We've been told in order to stop spread the virus, the health and the government officials are recommending avoiding large gatherings. Avoiding large gatherings and maintaining a distance of 6 feet from one another. This reduces the chance of contact with those who are knowingly or even unknowingly carrying the infection. Now, let's say some of us know that there's something going on with us, right? There's something negative, that we've done something that we regret, or we are conspiring to do something, right? That's not good for somebody else. And what can happen is that we end up feeling this sense of a lack of trust. And when we feel a lack of trust with the person, we wonder, what are they up to? Then you've got those of us who know, and we're pretty straightforward, and we tend to be as authentic as possible. So I might come and say, oh, I have this, don't come close. There's some will be like, I know I have it and I'm so angry and I want to infect everyone. There's a consciousness in certain people. I'm not saying this is true for the corona. I'm saying sometimes when people are falling, they feel bad that they're falling and they want to bring folks with them. There's a saying, misery likes company. Remember that one? Misery likes company. Miserable people love to make other people miserable. And happy people, they just want to keep spreading joy. So it depends on what kind of a virus you want to spread. The spiritual vaccine that will cure it all, no matter what. But if you spread a virus, at least make it to be a good one. So during this time of sheltering in place, quarantine, we are provided an opportunity to go within with self-reflection and to reevaluate our lives. What has been most important to you? What are you recognizing in your heart, in your mind, in your beautiful soul? What is it that you're realizing you value the most? Is it money? Is it a person? Is it your position? Is it your career? Is it God? Since this crisis came about, my intellect first went to my love and relationship with God, and I've anchored myself there. I just anchor myself there. The energy of God is about love and power and wisdom and truth and purity and joy and benevolence and the power to forgive, and it's the ocean of compassion. So you anchor yourself into your deepest belief or your deepest relationship. And from that base and from that core, so much of the way you think and speak and conduct your life comes from that intention, that vibration. So my question to you is, what has become highlighted for you that is so important? Just write that down and see if you've been nurturing it properly, and do you think that whatever you have valued so much, is it more important than your spiritual dignity and the well-being of those that you love? Food for thought. So what do these guidelines say to us at a deeper and spiritual level? Let's take a look. We've been told to stay home because we'll stay safe. So consider your body to be your house. We have Sister Gita here, and because she's losing her memory and different states of dementia, it's been a very interesting to juggle her around the space when we get a chance. So even if we tell her to go left, she'll go right. And now she just found a whole bunch of keys and she started to jiggle them in the midst of the conversation. So things are happening around us that we have no control over. But am I implementing my compassion? Am I able to let the compassion be at the forefront? So it's just an example. I'm focused on you and being in service with you, and another energy comes in and she's doing the keys. What is this? And so to what extent do I need to stay where I am? You see what I'm saying? This coronavirus can take you off course. And that's what it has done in a very powerful way. So I'll go back to the slide, because even though it's taken us off course, yet I still feel that there's some benefit in it. So we're asked to stay home. So consider the body to be the house and you, the soul, the resident of the house. So if you create the thought, I'm a soul and the body is my home, let's take our time and look at how that feels for you. Take a deep breath and think. Now I'm being given permission to stay home. I'm a soul and the body is my home. How does that feel? It's really a sign of self-care, isn't it? When you can start to really focus on the energy that you are, the soul that you are, and focus on the quality of your thoughts to start to heal these waste thoughts and put them into thoughts of wonder, it's self-care. And I'm inviting you to do this every hour and hour. Take care of the soul that is in the home, the body. Let's move on. Don't follow the crowd. You get influenced a lot by some of the people who do things. And there are times that you can see that when someone is doing something and it isn't appropriate, you can be influenced. But the one to follow is the one above. Who do I follow? Either the one above, who's the ocean of love, or individuals who have offered a good track record of how to live with dignity, grace, principles, values, inspiration, creativity, love, compassion. If you choose to follow anyone, follow the crowd that emanates these qualities. The fourth thing is silence, something that we're not so used to globally. I would say maybe in Japan, because it's one of my favorite countries. When I go there, even the airport is deadly silent. And airports are not usually very quiet places. But appreciate the silence. Today was the first day in a long time we didn't have a lot of radio interviews in the daytime. So when I was done with my morning session at about 7:30 or 8, we made the breakfast. We started up the Meditation Museum RV, and I'm dying to take that out to come and see all of you. And we did what we call in the Brahma Kumaris Karma Yoga, performed actions in God's remembrance, played some beautiful music, cooked a great meal. I just had moments of sweet, sweet silence. And then I, looked at a radio show and saw what we could do. And we've been having conversations about making America Meditating Radio a serviceable program for humanity's upliftment. And not because of just numbers, but just the service. Just, I know this is good for you. That's the only reason why I'm putting the energy in it, like these shows every day for you. So when I took my silence today, it was so sweet. And whenever you appreciate silence, you are able to bypass all your negative stuff. And you start to get into a place in yourself of appreciating who you are, what you've become, but also you become aware that there's room for growth and change. All right, let's look at the next one. Be careful of the company you keep. I used to hear that all the time because I used to always choose bad company when I was growing up. Poor Sister Gita didn't know what to do with me. Like, who is this friend now? Who is that friend? But I used to choose companies that I just enjoyed and had fun with because they were just so much fun. However, they did get me into trouble, I will admit. And I've had to learn that it really is a big deal. Be careful of the company that you keep, because by the company you keep, you can be infected or negatively influenced. So again, I go back to, what is this teaching us? That we have to reprioritize the choices that we make. This is a time for deep transformation. The age of the world symbolizes the state of consciousness in our souls. Whatever is the stage of consciousness, which means the quality and the pattern of your thinking, it symbolizes the conditions of the world, the conditions of the planet. There's such a deep, deep meaning behind why all of us are enduring the same opportunity. Reflect. Change. Change. Just change. How angry were you last year? How jealous were you last year? How much did you compete because you saw someone else was doing really well? How much was your ego fed? change. This is what this is asking us to do. It's a time for deep transformation, because that stage of consciousness, I call it algae. If you were listening to yesterday's part 2 of karma, algae, the alloy mixed in the purity of your essence and your personality, is the root cause of all of these obstacles. If we come out of this transformed, and we've reduced the energy of the intention and the personality of greed, attachment, ego, anger, lust, competition, criticism, judgment, jealousy, if we come out of that, the world will become golden age. Let's see some more. So it's time for our compassion and our mercy to be alerted, amplified, highlighted, to become natural in our nature. It's time for us to be naturally compassionate people. And we're not only compassionate because we see an ad on the news about dogs that are being treated really bad, about animals being killed for food consumption and being treated horribly. Our compassion shouldn't arise because we see suffering. Our compassion should be there because it's the natural nature of my personality to be empathetic, to be kind, to be thoughtful, to be understanding, and to be accepting. Don't wait for tragedy or crisis to make you feel compassion. Compassion is the natural quality of the soul. Even right now, turn to someone to your left or to your right and look at them with compassion. And it isn't compassion because anything is wrong with them. It's just compassion because that's who you are. And when you look at others with compassion, it's like you're raising not only your vibration, but also their vision of themselves. And that feeling of compassion gives you a great sense of inner power. Do it again. Turn to someone in your family. Think of someone that you know. Think of all the leaders around the world. Send them your compassion. I'm sure they're having many, many sleepless nights. So let's pause 30 seconds for every single world leader that now has to step outside of the boundaries of politics and think about humanity's well-being. And raise them up. How does it make you feel? So from corona to compassion. Cost you nothing, right? Let's move on. So through the vibrations of compassion, we can transform our awareness, lifestyle, relationships, thoughts, habits, and attitudes. So what are we learning? Well, God is our bestower who gives us power and comforts our hearts. When you have mercy, you not only help others, but you help yourself. We are learning now to be more kind-hearted, to have more forgiveness. And with mercy and compassion, we're able to release thoughts of fear and insecurity. We have a wonderful chance to no longer keep living a life of illusion, but to adopt a simpler way of living. Enough is enough. You think about souls who are being detained in refugee camps. You think about all the shanty towns in developing countries. You think about the millions of children in the United States that don't have food to eat because there isn't enough money. You think about, some of us will go and buy, I'm just giving you an example, and we have a right to do it. A pair of shoes for $500, a handbag for $12,000. It's fine. But now, all the designer clothes, all the fancy thing doesn't matter. What matters now is, how do I feel? How do I feel as a person? And where does my compassion spread for the world? How can I allow or make my compassion spread throughout the entire world? We have to start to think in this way, especially if you're blessed and you're very fortunate and you have a great deal of resource, and all of this lockdown and financial instability won't affect you much. You're very fortunate. So now, with your great fortune, how can I apply my compassion to make the world a better place? So this is a great time to continue to keep conveying your respect for nature, which we don't have a choice because many of us are staying in-house, and so the planet is getting a break. So have respect for nature, and always remember, we are interdependent, and whether we want to accept it or not, black, white, Jew, Muslim, Christian, atheist, agnostic, rich, poor, tall, short, overweight, skinny, underweight, Indian, Chinese, European, Middle Eastern, African, Caribbean, Central America, South America, Russia, Australia. Does it matter? Do you really think we're separate? Do you really think we're divided? Or are we one, living spiritual beings who come from the one Supreme God the Father? Who are we now? Every single one of us need help. Who's going to help us? We're going to need more compassion. So think about our interconnectedness and our oneness. This is the way you can spend these times, in deep reflection, in sincere transformation, and in kindness. Santosh, I think, was that the last slide? Was that the last slide? So I hope that that was helpful. I've been thinking that so many other ways that all of this is helping us. Keeping our distance wasn't necessarily to break us apart from each other, but in the golden age with the deities from my studies, everyone was they were all in their self-respect and self-esteem, because the souls were so filled with qualities of love and compassion and purity. So it's like wherever they went, they had their own space. And sometimes I look at the animal kingdom, and I don't see animals really clinging to each other. The only animals I've seen do that are the monkeys and sometimes the kangaroos, because in India there's so many monkeys. But can I share with you a personal story? Since this coronavirus has started, Happy, the service animal, won't stay outside. Every time you take her outside, she does whatever she needs to do quick, and she runs right back in. And every time I take her, I go, "What's the matter with you? Why are you so nervous?" She goes out, she looks around, and she runs right back in the house. And I say to myself, what is she picking up? She must be picking up a really deep energy. And for those of you who know Happy, you know she's a really special, special pet. even her teacher couldn't teach her that well at the school. He would say, this is a really special advanced dog, because she just has this great sense of knowing. Another thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if you have noticed, Santosh or Sister Gita, but we don't see any more deers around. Have you noticed you don't see any more deers? We would have a family of deers here. Almost every other day or night, you would see the deers. 6, 7, 8 of them. I don't see them. I go, where are the deers? I haven't seen them in at least a month or two. Of course, some of the birds are still coming by. I see some of the birds. The cardinals are pretty to look at. There's a little fox that comes around ever so often. Sister Gita feeds him across the street, and she takes out food, so he'll come out and just kind of look up and go, where's my food? And then he'll go back. And I keep praying that she will not be out there when that fox is there, because I would not know how to save her. But it just fascinates me how intuitive and sensitive Happy has been during this particular period. So, as you know, animals have a very deep sense of sixth sense, and they can sense an element of caution. And so again, your social distancing isn't about moving away from people. It is about practicing to look into souls, like to look at the beauty of souls. It's to share your compassion and pure love from within you in your hellos and your Om Shantis and your Salam Aleikums and your Shalom and your Namastes. So just for a little bit, I'd like us to just hold some deep silence as Santosh plays the mantra of Om. And I'd just like us to spread this vibration around just for maybe 5 minutes. And just hold some of the things that I've shared as close to your heart as you possibly can, and nurture your spirit. So take a deep breath, inhale, and exhale. Breathe in again, inhale and exhale. And think about some of the ideas and thoughts that were shared in today's session. Was there something that struck a chord inside of you? Something move your heart? Did you feel a deep sense of truthfulness? So for a little while, to continue to clear out the air, let's chant the Om mantra together. Santosh will play it now. Shanti. Everything is just a thought away. There can be chaos one moment, and then you can instantly grab a thought of truth that's anchored in your remembrance of God, the Supreme, and a virtue and a quality, and it can change the whole environment in just a few minutes, just because of one thought. You can change an environment of chaos into peace, an environment of confusion into clarity, an environment of fear into compassion, just because of your one thought. All of this today was a cleansing, a clearing, to get us all back to our true essence and beauty and softness and gentleness, but great power, great strength, great integrity. So I want to thank you for joining us today. I don't know if we have any questions from the audience. Everyone's okay? Everyone's contented? All right, great. No questions means everything was answered today. So thank you so much for joining us today. Please, tonight, do your reflection on the soul, connect to God, work on your kindness, your compassion, your empathy. Play this video over again to capture something that maybe you might have missed, that you'd like your heart to reconnect to. Share it with your friends if you'd like to, if you like them. That's if you like them. We just need things that are more natural, sincere, thoughtful, things that are just more thoughtful. All right. So, Santosh, we're good? Here is Sister Jenna sharing from Essential Spirituality on spiritual solutions, which I think you'll enjoy. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Om Shanti.
If I go back to where we'd started, and that was the crises that we're facing in the world today, the financial, the political, the family, the religious, the environmental, there's a list of them. I see all of those as actually being spiritual crises. And if we were to resolve the spiritual crisis, I think everything else would fall into the right place. We'd be able to deal with all of those things, absolutely. Why I say that is because somebody would say that, the environmental crisis is because we've been totally commercialized and we haven't given anyone an understanding that nature is to be respected, or even that nature is sacred. Well, that's a spiritual statement. All the political crises that we're thinking about and the injustice that seems to be happening, again, to me, it's because our moral compass is not aligned. We're not understanding where it is we need to go and what our destination really is. The financial crisis is absolutely human created, where we've got this big division between the have and the have-nots. So just looking at all of these things, I see how coming back to a spiritual consciousness resolves these things for me personally, but also I think there's a lot of good that's happening in the world that is being released at the present moment. On one level I see the descending energy and the darkness increasing, but on the other side I see the ascending energy. And so the choice that I make when I'm spiritually conscious and aware is, which part do I want to be part of? Do I want to be part of the descending darkness, or do I want to be part of the ascending energy of light? And then it's many, many organizations, many individuals who are being inspired to do that which is good, which reminds me that there is that original goodness within all of us, and we're all coming back to that. And so spiritually, what happens when I go through that transformation of shifting my awareness from being just limited matter to being a spiritual entity, in this awareness, then I realize my responsibility to myself, my responsibility to others, and to the world at large. And so, in the awareness of the soul, in my connection with the divine, what happens is that I'm getting in touch with my own inner goodness. And now my responsibility is to share goodness with those whom I meet, whether it's my immediate family, whether it's the people at work, or my neighbor, whoever that neighbor happens to be. And so the proof of my transformation, of this change of consciousness from material and limited to being spiritual and unlimited, is that there's a behavior change. There's a change in terms of my values and the expression of my values in my life.